Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we are going to do some mixed media painting, and it's actually kind of a mixed media mess if I have to be completely honest, because what I started out with, what I intended to paint here is not what I ended up with. So what I did first was just a quick little sketch of some lupins, and I'm using some of these watercolors to add just some color into the background. These are the Viva watercolor sheets, which are actually much more like an ink, like a dye-based ink, than a watercolor. And I was just kind of getting used to these and playing around with them, and I'm just putting an overall kind of wash on this 8x8 watercolor paper block. This block is by Fluid. It came with like another order of supplies, and I just wanted to kind of play with it a bit because I've done some sketches on it, but I haven't really worked on it that much, and I just wanted to kind of give it a whirl. So now what I'm doing is blotting off some of the color from the lupin flowers that I sketched on there originally, and I'm not working from a reference photo, and I find that when I don't work from a reference photo, my work has a much higher likelihood to becoming a mixed media painting, because I can't rely on like observing and painting what's really there. I kind of have to guess and make it up as I go along. So I wanted some mixing area for these watercolor inks, so what I did was I just used a white plate and just kind of put some of that ink out there, and then I'm painting around my focal flowers here. I thought I would do kind of like a negative painting technique. That's what this project was going to be, actually, and I didn't think I really needed that accurate of a drawing to be able to do that, but I was very clearly mistaken. I should have had a much better sketch before I started this. I mean, right here it actually is looking kind of cool, but the thing with these watercolor inks is that they stain, and they're more difficult to kind of move around and fade out than regular watercolors. So I probably, if I was going to try this technique, I should have used a paper that I'm more familiar with and watercolors that I'm more familiar with. But you know, it's fun to experiment with new things, and that's what I was doing here. So this stage of my mixed media painting is definitely a negative watercolor technique. So I could have, used regular watercolors and kept, painting around objects in layers as I go to get that kind of negative painting look. But I was having a difficult time blending things out and fading things out. So, I'm struggling with it, and you can see that here. I think it's important to dry between layers, especially if you are trying this technique, the negative painting technique, because you need to have one layer dry before you can go on and glaze another layer. Anytime you're doing something where you have to glaze, you really want that layer underneath to be fully dry. And if you don't have time to let it dry, using a heat tool or a hair dryer to speed it up is a great idea. I don't like where I put that flower, that leaf behind that that spiky lupin flower. I think it looks kind of awkward. But lupins do have this kind of like 5-petaled star type flower with them. That's how you can kind of tell before they bloom, because the leaves come out first. You could tell that you got lupins growing there, so you don't accidentally chop them down or pull them up thinking they're weeds. Well, they might be weeds, I'm not sure, but they're really pretty, and we have them growing especially on the side of the roads in like June in Maine. They're so colorful. They can be white, purple, or pink, and they're just really beautiful, and that's what I wanted to capture here. But I found that just doing the negative painting technique, it wasn't giving me what I wanted, and it could just be my lack of experience with this technique that was making me feel a little blah about it. I think I was also a little kind of stressed out because I was using these brand new watercolors, and I wanted this to be to look really cool, and I was planning on doing a video review about them, but then I wasn't happy with how they were coming out, and then I was like, well, that's not really fair for, to show this video if I'm not happy with it. I'm getting frustrated. That's, not going to do any favors to, the people that have just invented these. So so that's why this ended up being a speed paint, quite frankly. So here at this point I'm kind of frustrated, so I'm flicking on paint, because that's kind of one of my go-to techniques when I'm getting frustrated, is just to flick on more ink and let it kind of blend in with the background. And I'm going in and trying to put in some darker shadows, thinking, well, maybe I can rescue this negative painting if I just go in and add some more darks, but it's going from negative to negative right here at this point. So basically I thought maybe if I color in the places that I've kind of reserved, maybe that would make it better, but then I'm just kind of getting this monotone mess. Everything is kind of getting to be like the same value, and I'm just completely losing any of the lighter colors that I managed to keep during the that I managed to paint around. So I just completely ruined the negative painting effect in this area here. So then I grabbed some alcohol and I started dripping that into the background because I knew it would give me some interesting shapes in the wet paint. Using that on dye is a little different than using it on watercolors, I found, because the dye stains underneath. It doesn't give me such a dramatic effect. So at this point, we have hit hot mess stage number 1. I actually liked it before I started filling in the flower area, but at this point, there was really no going back because I couldn't scrub it back to the white paper again. And plus, this paper isn't that durable, I don't think. So I decided to keep on adding, and I grabbed my Sennelier Le Petit Aquarelle set and started to use some white watercolor on top of the flowers, thinking, well, that will kind of sink in and just lighten things up a bit, but it just wasn't powerful enough. So I grabbed my Prima watercolor confections, and I also have some white gouache paint in there. Because those colors are pretty opaque, I thought, well, maybe this will give me enough you know, kind of punch to be able to pull those flowers back out of the background again. And I just started layering on paint. So for the rest of this video, I'll be layering on different medias to try to bring out my picture that I completely lost with the inks because they were so strong and vibrant, and I just, you know, I didn't trust myself to keep doing the negative painting technique. I guess I should have seen it probably through a little bit longer, but I was getting very kind of stressed out and frustrated with it. So it just kind of goes to show you that everybody has those days. So I'm just layering more of the white gouache and the pastel watercolors from this Prima Marketing Pastel Dream set, and just trying to see what I can accomplish here with the supplies that I've got going on. So at this point, I've probably been painting for about 30 minutes on this, and I am just not loving it. I'm getting frustrated, and I'm just thinking, what can I do to bring my design back? So I grabbed some mermaid markers and just, you know, ink-filled pens, and I'm going in and redefining my darks, thinking, well, I think I can still go a little darker on this piece, so I want to exploit the values as much as I can. So this dark purple is kind of cutting through the other colors, and then I'm just kind of softening some of those edges with a wet brush, and just, you know, kind of working back and forth until I can kind of pull the flowers apart from each other and make them stand out a little bit. I'm also dragging some of that color into the background to kind of shade around them, like kind of like how I was originally trying to do the negative painting. I'm just really experimenting at this stage because I don't have anything to lose. This is looking pretty horrible to me, so I'm thinking whatever I do to this is going to be an improvement, and if it isn't, well, I was about to pitch it in the trash as it was, so I might as well just keep experimenting, and maybe I'll learn a thing or two, and maybe I'll even actually you know, be able to salvage this. So I find that when I go over a dry opaque mermaid markers, it works pretty well. And so now I'm thinking, well, maybe I can go in with a semi-opaque layer, such as these Tim Holtz Distress crayons and the Target gel sticks, and kind of build up a little bit more body to this piece. I did find that the crayons, actually, with the exception of the white, were fairly translucent. So going over the colors I already had laid down with the white Distress crayon, I was able to lighten up those areas. So I'm just kind of going in and layering and seeing what I can come up with. I think that these were probably a little too translucent to really hold their own on top of such dark ink, but I'm starting to get somewhere, and I'm able to at least define some edges on like the leaves, and that's giving me a little bit of hope, but I feel like we are still in the thick of the hot mess stage here as well. I can't stress the importance enough of like tipping your paper, looking at it at a different angle, and even giving your eyes a break from your painting when you're working if you're getting frustrated, because a lot of times when you push, if you're getting frustrated, then you're going to kind of overdo it and make more work for yourself, which I think I might have done here. But anyway, I'm going over with some more white gouache to try to lighten up some areas because I felt like I had lost a lot of definition. I felt like everything had gotten super dark, and I'm just trying to kind of carve out some highlights and some details a little bit here with my white gouache. There's so much pigment from the inks and the crayons and everything underneath that I could just put white down and it just kind of like mixes in with the other media and pulls it up. You're going to see a technique I do with gouache in a little bit where I'm able to actually capitalize on the ink that I have underneath. So right here what I have are twinkling H2Os. So if you've never used these before, they are a pearlescent watercolor, and you basically want to wet them and let them sit for a couple minutes, about 5 minutes, and then they'll release really well with a paintbrush so you can paint with them, and they just leave kind of like a sparkly sheen behind. And I have like a duo, kind of like a pearl opal, and I've just got a plain pearl color, then I've got this green gold color, and I'm just hoping that I can, I don't know, give it a little bit of pizzazz. I decided to grab some gesso because I just felt like I needed to stencil or something, because this just wasn't interesting. It was just very blah, and I felt like I needed like a layer of pattern or something on here to make it look a little different. And I just recently purchased these stencils from Consumer Crafts, and I just like stencils that have kind of a smaller scale for these smaller either cards or small paintings, and I'm just kind of you know, adding some of that gouache in. So after stenciling with a gouache, I just used a paintbrush, and I'm kind of painting over some of the Lupine areas. This is going to do two things. It's going to mix in with the paint underneath and lighten stuff up, but it's also going to give me some tooth so that I can go over it with other media later and allow that media to stick. And to make a little frame, I grabbed a sponge, and I'm just sponging and wiping gesso along the edges. Sometimes just by adding that vignette or frame to a painting, it makes it all come together. It grounds it a little bit and just makes it feel a little more finished. And I was pretty much throwing every trick in the book at this painting, because I was like, oh, this is not going good. But now I have to say, like, letting it sit overnight and coming back to it, I was starting to like it. So I thought, well, I'm going to grab my color pencils, and these are the Derwent Color Softs. A lot of people ask me what color pencils, Prismacolors that I use and I like, but they're older. Some people have said the newer Prismacolors have gone down in quality. So if anyone's gotten Prismacolors recently, if they want to leave a comment in the comments below letting me know how you find them, that would be great, because they're certainly really cheap on Amazon right now. So that'd be a great steal if anybody needed color pencils. But the color softs have gone down in price quite a bit too, and I haven't had any issues with them breaking, and they still have the thick opaque leads like the Prismacolors. So if you want to be safe, I would definitely go with the Derwent Color Softs. I've been very pleased with them over the last few years. So after adding some pencil, I decided to go back in with some more distress crayon, because that felt like really dark and transparent, especially those more vivid shades. And then I thought I would grab my pearlescent Mungio pastels and add some of those in, because those will give me kind of those high reflective highlights that I want. And there you can see a little bit of the shimmer when I was tipping it around. I'm just kind of building. These layers need to be applied last, because the oil pastels are even thicker and softer than the distress crayons, so nothing's going to stick on top of them. That's basically it. You need to do it last, unless you want to go over them with like a liquid paint or something. I found that they work really well with the Prima oil pastels. I can go in there and add some of those darks in there as well, and they'll stick on top of everything. And then I was able to actually come up with something I was pretty happy with. I found though, if I sketched with the pastels and I didn't have anything underneath, and I needed to either blend it out with my finger or with a silicone blending tool, or you know, something so that it filled in the tooth a little bit better. But there you can see the finished painting pretty much. I'm happy with it now that I really pushed through those ugly stages, and just keep that in mind when you're painting. Every mixed media painting especially has the ugly stages, the hot mess stage. Just keep pushing, and you'll probably end up with something you like, and if not, you're gonna learn something. So it's a win-win situation in my book. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and if you're not a subscriber, I'd love to have you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.